Hey guys, so today we're back in the shop. If y'all followed along on the last video, I was doing some repairs and just maintenance stuff on the processor here, and I'm gonna continue doing that. Today's Monday, so we had the weekend, and so this thing's just been sitting in the shop. Everything pretty much just how it was when I left on Friday. And the last repair I did was just kind of get this fixed up. If you didn't see that, you can go to the previous video, and this had been broken for a while. We had kind of mended it together and been working with it for a while that way, but this should be a good solid repair that should last a long time. I did get a longer cotter pin. That was in that last video. I didn't have quite a long enough cotter pin, but I did get that, so got that to where that should be a good long lasting repair. I would imagine I think that should work for us good. So the next things that I'm gonna do, one thing I didn't get on camera, I did go ahead and straighten this out, just put a long bar on that and straighten that out. And I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up my welding here. I know I spoke about it previously, but I just need to put a little bit of weld here. This is just kind of stitch welded right here, and of course I welded this leg. This is just a stiff leg that I'll actually show you what I'm talking about, so y'all, in case y'all haven't seen it set up. Right now I have it just chained up, but this leg just goes into there, and that's why I don't like it to be bouncing around on a chain. I like it to hit hard on the ground, and so I've got a leg like that on this side as well as on the other side, and so it just bent this metal here. So I think all I need to do is just put a little weld right here. So that'll be the first thing I'm going to take care of today. I'm going to do that on both sides, even though the other side hasn't moved yet. Just gonna go ahead and weld on both sides there. This one as well, just right here. We bent this one down a little bit as well, just to get them both just where we want them, and then I'm gonna go ahead and weld that up. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put this paddle back on. I've got the paddle. A lot of times when these paddles do come off, which, you know, it's happened previously, I'll lose the paddle. It'll end up in the wood pile or something, but this particular one fell underneath the conveyor, so that's nice. I did recover the paddle, and I'm gonna get that welded back on. I had someone comment that they use bar stock, square bar stock instead of the paddles, and that's honestly a really good idea. You know, I just worry, I don't know if it would catch right here coming around if you just welded it flush to the bottom. I don't know. I might have to. I might look into that in the future. Probably for now, I'm just going to put that paddle back on. But you know, I definitely have thought about that. It's a pretty good idea, and it would be. Seems like you'd get a better weld, maybe a little bit more solid weld right here if it was just a piece of square stock, versus kind of, you know, with these paddles you can only weld just right in this area. So, but I do weld on top, and then I'll rotate it to where I'm looking at, you know, I can get on the underneath side as well, right in this area as we rotate this chain around. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get the welding done first, because I've got the battery disconnected as well as the computer disconnected on the processor. That is something that Eastonmade recommends doing whenever you do any welding on the machine. And I think the only stuff I need to weld is just that right there, and this right here, for right now, and then I'll get working on a few other little things that I'm gonna do before we pull this thing out of the shop. So yeah, so I'm gonna get going, get started, and y'all can follow along. So the first thing I always do is try to get a good clean surface to weld to. So I'll be getting the angle grinder out with a flat disc on it, and just cleaning off all the paint here, getting a good clean surface to weld to. So I'll do that on both sides before I hit it with any weld. not beautiful, but that should definitely serve the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So I mean, it's kind of tough to get an angle grinder in there to clean up all the paint, and that makes for a difficult weld. But this side might be a little bit easier to clean up the paint. I'm going to get it cleaned up, and then we'll get this side welded as well. Yeah, so that side came a good bit cleaner, as you can see there. So that'll be, you still just can't get all the way in there and get all the paint out. So it'll still splatter on me a little bit, but not too bad. Definitely raw steel is so nice to weld, but you know, I'm always a lot of times doing repairs on stuff like this, and it's tough to, you know, you don't get the prettiest welds, but this will work. Well, not beautiful, but it should serve the purpose again on this one. So I think that's going to take care of our problem. Like I said, this one hadn't bent at all. It's just that one over there. I think what it is all the pressure was on that one. It was kind of angled funky, and that's why that one over there bent. So yeah, I think that's going to take care of that problem. Now the next step is I've got to get this power pack. This is an older power pack that I think it was one of the first ones Eastonmade made. Yeah, this is, let's see, yeah, power pack number 1. This is the first one they ever made, and it's really kind of underpowered. And this is 60C number 1, serial number 1. First processor they ever made. Manufactured of, yeah, okay, wow. So yeah, July 14th, 21. So what? Gosh, today's July 13th. So 5 years ago, we didn't get it on that date, but we've had it for I don't know how long, maybe 4.5 years or close to 5 years, I guess. And we don't put as much use on it as some guys. You know, some guys, if they had a processor for 5 years, it would be just pretty much trash. You know, I mean, if you were to run them every single day, all day, you know, I can't imagine expecting to get more than 5 years out of a machine. You know, maybe you get a little bit more than that, but you know, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to know how often the bigger operations that are running just all the time, how often they're expecting to replace their processor. That'd be some information I'd love to know. But, just so you have an idea of expected cost and you know, that kind of thing. How many hours you expect to get out of it. Of course, you're gonna run into issues and problems with anything. You know, I mean, the more you run it, you're gonna have little things like this that you have to do. I don't put any fault on any manufacturer. This is, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're buying. You're gonna have to work on it. You know, if you want it to stay operable. So I gotta do just one more little weld on that paddle, and then we'll be hooking the battery and the computer back up. But yeah, so I'll get this hooked up, we'll get this rotated around where I need it, and then I'll go find that paddle and we'll see if we can make it work. I know it did take a little bit of meat out of the link itself, so hopefully we can still get it welded. Whenever I've had these things fall off in the past, it hasn't done that. It's just kind of broken. It's kind of broken like in the past. In the past, it's kind of broken right here, so I've been able to weld it back, but this time it kind of took a chunk out of the link itself, and so I'm a little bit worried about trying to weld right there and interfering with the link coming over the sprocket here, like coming over the sprocket And there's just not a whole lot of, I guess there's a little bit of room there to get some weld in, but we'll see. We'll look at it a little bit closer when we roll it around. So like I say, this power pack was definitely underpowered. We bought it for our disc cleaner, and I think we had the outfeed conveyor on the disc cleaner at the time as well. And I think Eastonmade just thought this would be sufficient, and it wasn't. Look, it got the same manufacture date as our processor, but I think it's like 6.5 horsepower Honda. This is back when they were putting Hondas on stuff. And then since then we got a different power pack to run the disc cleaner, and it's like a 14 horsepower Vanguard, or is it, yeah, Vanguard motor, I think. So yeah, this one, I mean, we just kind of keep it around the shop. We're not going to get rid of it or anything, but we did buy 2 of them from them. Bought this one, then went ahead and got that other one from them later on once they were putting that motor on it, and that one's worked well for us. But this one's nice to have for just stuff like this. And then, you know, we sometimes we've got a 24-foot Eastonmade conveyor as well, and we'll sometimes run that off of this whenever we need to. So I'm gonna get this thing fired up. We'll get this rotated around and get some welding done. All right, guys, so this is what we're looking at here. See, and it kind of took a little bit of the link with it, you see. And in the past, it's broken off. It's broken off much further to the left here. And I mean, I'm gonna try to just put this back where it was. You see what I mean? Like this side over here, it's not broke off near as close. I think what happened is this side broke loose first, and then it was hanging on that side. Man, I never noticed it. And most of the time when one side comes off, it'll end up binding and jamming on me, and then that's when I notice it. And then I'll just cut the other side off, and then, you know, whenever I bring it back in the shop, I mean, you can live with less paddles on this thing. It's not the end of the world. So, you know, I'll just keep running until I decide to pull it over here into the shop. I don't have a mobile welder or anything that I can get, you know, well, I mean, I could call a mobile welder, but I don't have like a welder generator or something myself that that I can pull out there and work on it as far as welding and stuff. I mean, you can see, I mean, it's fitting together pretty well. I might do a little bit of grinding on this piece to give me a little bit of room to get some weld in there. Maybe a little bit on this piece as well, but I kind of like the way it sits right here, just like this, because I know that it's right where it needs to be. So if I do any grinding on it, it may not go in the right spot. What I can do after I get this top side welded, I can rotate this a little bit further around this way, and then I'll be able to weld it from the other side as well. Honestly, the back side you can get a little bit of a stronger weld than you can right here. So this is just kind of almost to hold it in position so that then I can weld the back side a little bit better. I always have trouble grounding this. I think I'm gonna have to bring the ground clamp up here a little bit. Tried grounding it down there a couple paddles back, and that just never seems to work that well. That's a good start. It's about as much weld as we can get on this side, and this side got a little funky, but it's still held good. And then I'll show you when I rotate it around this way, we'll be able to get a little bit better weld on the inside corner. All right, so you can see how that paddle is right over the top here, and I should be able to get the welder down in there and get pretty good weld on the inside corner there. And I should be able to do the same thing over here. That's what I've had the best luck with in the past, is getting weld right in there. Alright, so hopefully y'all can see that, but I went ahead and kind of went over a few passes to thicken it up and strengthen it up, so that should help. That should hold on pretty well. So now we'll move over to the other side and get it taken care of. And this one I'm trying to just not overheat that link, because I don't want to break through that link, you know, with weld, then we'd be in trouble. So I'm gonna kind of just do a little bit at a time, not do a solid bead all the way down, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple more passes on it. All right, that should work for us. Definitely not beautiful, but it'll work. It's kind of tight down in the bottom there. I can't really get the welder in there very good, so it gets a little bit porous, gets a little bit too much exposure to air there, but I got plenty of good weld on it. That should work for us for a while longer. Then, like I say, I think if these, probably the next time these fail, I probably will try some square stock. I just don't have any square stock here at the shop right now, but I think if I just put a piece of square stock, you know, and weld it right here flush to the top edge, or I mean, depending on the thickness of square stock I get, that would probably work really well. One thing I have done in the past to these paddles, they had pretty big gaps on the bottom of them right here, and we had all kinds of trouble with this conveyor on the outfeed of the disc cleaner when we first got it. And this is a modification I did. I put flat bar. This is actually a paddle that I made for this. You might see it's a little bit different than all the others. And this was just a piece of angle iron I had laying around the shop, and I've since found the paddle. It was in our wood pile. Like I said earlier, you know, sometimes they'll make it up into our wood pile, and I've since found the paddle, but this one's worked out, you know, fine. But like what I was getting at is I put all this flat bar on the bottom to tighten the gap from the deck of the conveyor to the paddle, because we were having a lot of trouble with pieces as it would come over the top of the conveyor. You know, there'd be a decent sized piece underneath the paddle, and then as it's coming around, it would jam. And you know, a lot of that was maybe due to the power pack not having enough power. You know, but we were just constantly fighting it. I think it even did it a good bit, even when we had it hooked in line with on the actual processor itself too. So that's one modification I've done, and I think it's definitely helped. You know, the tighter you can keep that to the deck of the conveyor itself, the less wood. Because I mean, if you're into some, you know, hardwood, oak, hickory and stuff, it's not going to just break it. You know, it's going to get under there, and it's going to come over the top of this, and it's going to stop. And you'll have to either reverse it and hope that clears it, or and if it doesn't, you got to get out and, you know, mess with it and try to unjam it. But we've, you know, that's how, you know, I mean, this is just things that we've thought of, you know, myself and my brother have thought of to try to make things a little bit better and more efficient, and that's what we're always trying to do. So now I think the next repairs I'm going to do, I'm going to probably go ahead and pull this shield off. I'm going to go ahead and hook the battery back up, hook the computer back up. We'll get that done so that we can crank the machine. And then I'm either going to, I don't know that I have to take this off to get to the front of that cylinder. I'm gonna go ahead and push the push plate all the way out and see if there's enough room to access the front of this cylinder to get that tightened up. Right here, the collar in the front of the cylinder is coming loose, and I think there's a set screw in there that's broke or something that's allowing it to come loose. So we'll look into that as well while we're in there. I'm gonna go ahead and get the battery hooked back up and hook our computer back up as well. This is a little bit tricky sometimes. You got to get it lined up right. It's got little grooves that you got to kind of turn it a half a turn, and that's what tightens it. Yeah, so you get it right in there, and you just turn it on, and then that's plugged in. They recommend unplugging that as well as disconnecting the battery, so I'll go ahead and get a 9/16 socket wrench. Alright, battery's hooked up. Battery and the computer are hooked up, so we're ready to fire back up. And I'm going to push that wedge out. Yeah, I think I've got enough room to work without taking that guard off there. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up with an air hose and a little bit of brake parts cleaner, and see what's going on. I think we've got a set screw right here that has kind of broke off, and we'll see what we can do though. See if we can figure it out once we get it cleaned up. You see that drip just now? Yep, there it is. See it dripping? There goes one. It's not a bad leak, but it's, you know, I hope there's no inner seals or anything. I hope that I can just tighten it up and it'll seal back, but we'll see. So that's a lot cleaner. I feel like it would seat together decent. I'm gonna go ahead and get a little brake parts cleaner in there as well, but you can see this set screw that's no longer there, and I'm not sure where. Looks like it's right in that area. I doubt y'all can see that because it's dark, but right there. Hopefully we haven't jammed that in there or messed the threads up, because I know that we tried putting this back on using a spanner wrench, I guess is what it's called, or spade wrench. I can't remember what it's called exactly, but one of those wrenches that gets on the front of the cylinder here and goes in these in those holes, and we just couldn't get enough torque on it. So I ended up ordering a pipe wrench on Amazon, 48-inch pipe wrench that'll fit around that front collar. Hopefully we can get it tight with this. We'll certainly be able to get a lot more leverage without worrying about it coming off while I'm trying to torque down on it. So, but hopefully we can get it tightened up and maybe even get that set screw back in. And if you guys have any pointers for me on that, feel free to let me know. I'm not a cylinder guy, that's for sure. I mean, we may end up having to just pull this cylinder off eventually and have it rebuilt, repacked, and resealed. But this cylinder has lasted us a long time without having to do anything to it. The original cylinder we had on it, seemed to not, it didn't last very long. We ended up having to have it rebuilt real quick, and I think it had an issue. It was hard, it was coming hard back, and you would hear it knock every single time it came back, and we ended up breaking the weld right here, and we had it rebuilt, had the weld redone, and it did the same thing in probably 200 hours. So Eastonmade did send us this cylinder though, and I don't think they charged us anything for it. This is a slightly weaker cylinder as far as tonnage, but we haven't had any issues out of it. I think it is a little bit faster than the previous cylinder. We didn't really care about that. We just wanted something that would push anything through it without jamming, really, is what we wanted. And this one does that, but I think the main thing is that hard stop is not there anymore. So I think that was really our issue with the previous cylinder anyways. It's sitting over here on the shelf right now, but it needs to be rebuilt again. You can see it down there on the bottom of the shelf. It needs to be rebuilt again, so I doubt we'll ever do it, to be honest, because this cylinder's been great and lasted a lot longer. So, but I'm gonna see if I can get this tightened up, clean it up a little bit more with some brake cleaner, and then we'll give it a go. Alright guys, so I'm trying to get this hole lined up right there, and it's tricky to do because, you know, it takes a lot of torque just to get it to rotate around, but we'll give it another go, and if I can get that lined up with that, I think then I can get a set screw in there. That'll hold it from spinning out on me. I don't know, maybe it vibrated loose. It seems like there's a piece still in there though. I'm gonna get a little, hopefully if I get it lined up right, I'll be able to get the piece out that's still in there. think that's pretty dang good right there. I'll get a flashlight so we can see in there, see what we're working with. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but you can see a little piece of the set screw that broke off inside there. Now I'm gonna do my best to get it out, but should have got it out while it was loose. I didn't see it in there. Well, I couldn't get that little piece out of there. I don't think it's gonna come out unless I loosen it back off. So I think I can just put a set screw in until it gets tight to that, and that should be fine. You know, it's so hard to tell if you have these perfectly lined up. It's probably just gonna cross thread as it goes in, to be honest. Alright guys, well I think I got that in there good. I'm trying to feel if there's another one right here. Almost feels like there is supposed to be. I don't know if there's another one back there or not, but I got one in right there. It went in good. I mean, it went in, you know, like they say, that other part of that set screw was still in there, but this one went in pretty far, threaded in quite a few threads, and I put a little too much Loctite on there, but it's a red Loctite that should hold that from vibrating loose. I'll of course let that cure for a while before we run the machine. And I think that that's as tight as it needed to be. I believe that this is where this hole needed to line up with, but that pipe wrench sure did work compared to that spanner wrench that I was trying to use. And I've seen guys on YouTube tighten these with pipe wrenches before, and I figured it would kind of mar it up a little bit, but I don't think that hurts anything other than cosmetics. So I think that was the way to do it, and get it good and tight. So pretty pleased with that. I think that's going to hold together. Hopefully it doesn't leak. It may still leak, but we will find out. Time will tell. There's definitely not as much of a gap anymore, so hopefully that helps things. And then I'm also going to go ahead and tighten up that cylinder up there while I'm at it. That one kind of vibrates loose too. I don't think there is a set screw in the front of that cylinder. That's the log stop cylinder. It had come pretty far loose not too long ago, and I had tightened it up just out there while it was set up, and I just want to try to get it a little bit tighter now that I've got this pipe wrench. I didn't even have a pipe wrench that would go around that, which is probably 3-inch cylinder there. I mean, the actual bore, I guess you call it, not the shaft, but the bore itself. I think maybe probably around 3-inch. So I didn't even have a pipe wrench that would go around that, so I tightened that a different way and got it as tight as I could. But I'll get it with this pipe wrench while it's right here and get that taken care of as well. So definitely not the easiest spot to get to. That's as tight as I can get it. Alright, I think that's good. I wish there was a set screw or something in that one, because that one's always been that way. It's always wanted to loosen out on us. I need to get the appropriate size wrench for that, so then I can, you know, one of those spanner wrenches doesn't work on that one. It doesn't have the holes in the front. So what I've done in the past, just hit it with either a hammer or just a hammer chisel, and just hit in these notches and just work it around. But pipe wrench is definitely quicker and easier if I could get just a little smaller wrench. I think that's going to be good for now on that one. Other than that, I think I'm pretty much going to check some fluids on this thing, grease it up. I might swap a shank or two on this. I can see I'm missing a tooth up there. I'll look it over. I mean, it's cutting really well still. You know, you can be missing quite a few teeth and it doesn't really affect the cut. a whole lot, and I never sharpen them. You either just replace them when, I mean, all I ever do is just replace them when they fall off, which is pretty rare. You got to hit some, you know, decent sized piece of metal to take one of those carbide teeth off, you know, and just the tooth itself will come off. And then you know, what we do is we just replace the whole shank. We do keep the old shanks because I've heard that you can just solder new teeth on them. And there is someone that services these that comes by all these, you know, all these sawmills and pallet manufacturing plants and that kind of stuff that services these blades. And they say you can just solder these back on. So I don't know if we'll opt to do that, or, you know, the teeth, the whole shank itself is not that expensive anyway. So I think back we bought a whole set for it. I think they were like $7 or $8 a piece, you know, but there is quite a few on the blade, so it added up. But you know, it's a lot less than having to constantly be swapping chains on a bar saw like we used to do. We used to have a built-right bar saw. It was a good processor. If you look back at our oldest videos, you'll see that processor being used, and we did have that in service for quite a while until we upgraded to this. You know, like I said, about, I guess it's been almost 5 years now. I didn't realize it had been quite that long, but according to the manufacturing date, I guess it has been. I don't know exactly when we got it in relation to that manufacturing date, but it wasn't far after that. I think I am going to go ahead and tighten this up as well. I've never done that, but it's definitely getting a little bit of play in it, where when I reverse the log, it'll sometimes catch right here. So that's gonna be one thing I go ahead and do right now while it's sitting right here. Oh yeah, that's gonna be enough right there. All right, guys, well, I think that's pretty much gonna wrap up today's video. Went ahead and made a few repairs and, you know, little maintenance things. I'm pretty happy with what we got done. I hope that this right here, I hope this repair right here works and it doesn't leak, but we'll see. Time will tell. I'm gonna let that get, you know, that Loctite cure up real good. I went ahead and tightened these as well off camera. Just did that. I haven't replaced any of the teeth on the saw. Not sure if I'm gonna. Went and got that tightened up. You know, of course, we did these welds right at the beginning of the video, and then got that paddle put back on as well. So I think in the upcoming video, I'm actually gonna show you guys. I'm just gonna do a little walk around on this thing and show you guys all the little modifications that we've made to the processor over the years. And granted, this was the very first one that they ever put out, that Eastonmade ever made. So there's definitely some tweaks that could be made, and some things that we, you know, thought of and wanted to improve right off the get-go, and some things that, you know, just evolving with the processor and trying to make things as efficient and user-friendly as we can over the years that we've done to it. So I'll go over that with you guys probably in the next video, but I think that's gonna wrap this one up. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one.